Okay, climate systems change. The change in the Earth's climate system tends to alter the weather patterns in our climate, right? You must have heard about the melting glaciers, you know, about the possibility of the Arctic being ice-free. You must have read the news of the warmest that the Antarctica has ever been happened this year, right? All of these issues have been in the news lately. You must have also heard about your fellow climate activist, Greta Thunberg from Sweden, who has also been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for the phenomenal work that she has done in the past year to raise awareness about this. If you did not know already, we have about 10 years to stop a major climate catastrophe from happening. Now, climate change is not the only environmental issue that we're facing today, okay? It is a big one, but there are others, right? The emissions and the greenhouse effect have had more damaging and deeper effects on our environment. And these are habitat loss, species extinction, ocean acidification, the likelihood of oceans going fishless by 2050. Yes, by 2050. It is possible that our oceans may be fishless. And I'm going to get into the depth of how we are approaching that possibility. Okay. Other than that, the land use, the water use, the waste that we're creating, the mountains and mountains of waste that we're creating today. And what is a single factor that is related to this that we're not talking about?
Excuse me, Pareen ma'am, you're muted.
Can you unmute yourself? Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Yes, I've unmuted.
I'm just interrupting. We are live on YouTube. We couldn't go live on Facebook, but we are live on YouTube. So you can start your presentation accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, now. Do you guys know how old the Earth is? How many billion years old is the Earth? Can anybody guess in the chat box? While you guys are guessing, well, the Earth is 4 billion years old. And us humans have been around for between 6,000 and 7,000 years. When you think about it, it's only 0.00015% of how old the Earth is. Coming back to the nearer future, nearer past. In the past 200 years, what all have we done? We discovered farming. We discovered monocultures, under which we produce one single grain or legume on vast stretches of land, right? We discovered industrialization and mass production, right? So what was the population of the Earth about 100 years ago? Anybody in the chat box? It was about 1.5 billion. And what is the population of the Earth? The human population of the Earth today? It's 7.5 billion. So in the past 100 years only, we have increased the human population 5-fold, right? Today, the population of India alone is as much as the population of the entire planet just 100 years ago, just in the year 1900. Okay? Aside from our increasing biomass, our increasing human population, what else have we increased? We have increased the Earth's average temperature by 1.1 degrees Celsius, right? That is no small feat. It's huge, considering that the average temperature of the entire planet has increased by a degree. Now, As per scientists at the IPCC, at the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, we need to limit this increase in the temperature by 1 degree, or else we will set an irreversible chain of events from which there may be no coming back. Okay? In fact, something to note is that the 5 hottest years on the planet ever in the history of recorded time have been in the last decade. Since 2010, we have had the 5 hottest years on the planet. So what have we done that suddenly in this past century, we have altered the global climatic system? The major factors that we already know about are fossil fuels, the burning of fossil fuels to produce electricity and to fuel our transport and communication, right? So our burning of coal, our burning of natural gas, our LPG, these are our fossil fuels. And what do the fossil fuels do? They emit carbon. And what is carbon? Carbon is a greenhouse gas. And what do greenhouse gases do? They attract and trap the infrared radiation or the heat of the sun, and they make our atmosphere warmer, right? Now, the greenhouse effect is important. It's important for plants to grow. Plants need the sun's energy, and plants need the sun's heat to undertake the process of photosynthesis, right? To absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and to produce oxygen that we breathe, okay? So what are the plants? What function are the plants and trees and forests serving? They are our lungs, right? Do you know that the Amazon rainforest, which is the largest rainforest in the world, is known as the lungs of the planet? Do you also know that we have burned off approximately half of all the rainforest on the planet? Do you know why that is? Do you know why deforestation has been done on such a mass scale? Well, to create space for our development, for our infrastructure, our roadways, agriculture, our offices, our homes. What is the one thing that we're still not talking about here? It has got to do with agriculture. And specifically, it has got to do with the agriculture of animals. It's the animal agriculture or the animal farming industry. What is this industry? It is nothing but the breeding, rearing, and processing of animals to produce products or to test products on for our perceived needs or our preferences or our desires. If you come to think of it, human beings are naturally herbivores. We're inclined towards eating fruits and vegetables and legumes and seeds and grains. But what are we feeding ourselves? We're feeding ourselves, quite literally, dead bodies lathered in spices and herbs, right? And what else? Secretions of cows and buffaloes. What do you guys know about milk? What is milk? Let's do a small exercise. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to ask you to match the following. Okay? There we go. Oops. Which one is it? This one. All right. Now, tell me, who feeds whom? Who feeds a baby zebra? Zebra's mother? Who feeds a baby elephant? An elephant's mother. Who feeds us when we are kids, when we are born, when we are infants? for up to 1 to 2 years of our life. Who feeds us? Our mothers, right? When does an animal or a mammal produce milk? When they become mothers, when they have a child. And what is the purpose of this fluid which we call milk? It is to feed the newborn. It is to feed the infant, to provide them the nutrition that they need for their formative years, right? To feed them to grow. But what about cows? Do cows also produce milk when they have babies, or are they just milk machines blessed by God Almighty? Well, unfortunately, it's not the latter. Cows and buffaloes also produce milk when they have babies. But we think that we have the right on the milk that they produce for their babies. I'm going to ask you another question. Is there any mammal or animal on the entire planet that drinks milk after becoming an adult? It's only us humans, because we like our tea and our coffee and our cheese and paneer and ghee and kheer so much that we forget that we're not kids anymore, right? What made us think that? It is years and years of marketing, advertisement, and conditioning. I'm sure you're all aware of the White Revolution of India. It also happened in other parts of the world to increase the production of milk. Okay, so it's years and years of conditioning and marketing and thinking that this is the way things are, or ऐसा ही होता है, or ऐसा ही हम करते आए हैं, that makes us think that this is something that we need. In fact, makes us think that this is something that we cannot live without, when in fact, the truth is absolutely on the contrary. Just like all other infants of all other mammals, human beings do not. Hema ji, do you want to say something? I think you're on mute. Okay, no. All right, let's get back to this. And so we need to change the way we're thinking. We need to change the way we're being made to think if we want to secure a future for ourselves and our future generations on this planet. Why is that? Let me show you. All of the environmental problems that we talk about today, whether it is emissions, whether it is deforestation, species extinction, habitat loss, loss of fisheries, acidification of oceans, overuse of our water resources, use of our land resources, and waste creation. There is one industry that has got direct linkages with all of these environmental issues that we're facing today. Okay? And this is what I want to bring to your attention, because not many people are. And of course, not many people are because there are a lot of vested interests in this. There is a lot of money invested in these industries. There is a lot of money that is invested in lobbying for these industries and lobbying the government and the members of parliament across the world, not just in India. And also, there are a lot of teachings and perceptions that are linked with these industries that we are going to come to later. But first and most importantly, the environmental impact. Let's talk about basic things first. Greenhouse gas emissions. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the World, the FAO, in 2006 published that all of transport, road, air, and water, these are the three major ways of transport, they're responsible for 13% of greenhouse emissions of our planet. Okay? Further studies have shown, studies by the World Health Organization and by climate healers, among several others, that have shown that animal agriculture is responsible for between 51 and 87% of all greenhouse emissions. Now, when this is such a big number, why are we still not talking about it? It circles back to the same thing. Our perceived needs of animal products, our desire for animal products, which have both been created by years and years of marketing and conditioning, and also our egocentric view of the way we think the planet works. Now, by the end of this conversation, by the end of this, I don't want to call it lecture, but by the end of this conversation, I hope that I'm able to sow the seed in you to change from this egocentric view to an ecocentric view of the planet, where we can all live together in peace and harmony, where we can exercise the compassion that resides within our hearts towards each other, towards humans, as well as the non-human co-inhabitants of this planet, who it seems like we're mercilessly exploiting and abusing just for our temporary pleasures. Okay? Now, coming back to this very important graphic from this very, very important documentary that I want you all to watch tonight. It's called Cowspiracy. Like conspiracy, it's Cowspiracy, 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 the sustainability secret. You can watch it on Netflix. I'm sure all of you have Netflix. If not, share it with your friends and watch this documentary tonight and email me what you thought about it. And I have taken this particular graphic from the very same documentary, and I'm going to do a small little exposition of everything that is mentioned here. We've already spoken about greenhouse gas emissions. Coming to deforestation. Till today, we have felled 3 trillion trees off the face of the planet. We have wiped clean, literally by burning off, half of the forests of this planet. And 90% of the Amazon's destruction is due to animal agriculture. Why? Why are we burning the Amazon? To clear land, to raise feed for livestock, or to graze livestock on it, or to establish processing units on this land to process the body parts or excretions of these animals. Now, what is this doing? What is the clearing of this forest doing? Well, what is forest? Forest is the natural habitat of wild animals, right? Now, when we're clearing the habitat of the animals, where are they going to go? Well, we're wiping them off too. This is the trade-off that we're going for. We're trading off the wild with the tame, the wild with the domesticated. Come to think of it, the very fact that we're domesticating some animals constitutes abuse. Because did we ever ask for consent from animals? They are living, breathing beings. We respect them. We like them. We watch their videos on the internet. They have feelings for their children like we do. They experience pain like we do. In fact, we use them in our research and development laboratories to test our products and medicines on them because their bodies react to a lot of things just like ours do, right? So when they are similar to us in so many ways, how are we able to detach ourselves from them when it comes to eating that juicy leg or that biryani? Or even that ghee or that cheese or that cup of tea? Then we can very easily substitute it for a much more sustainable environmentally sustainable plant-based milk that we can get from soy or oats or coconuts. Think about it. We've been using coconut milk for centuries, right? Can we just not switch up our daily eating habits? I'm going to ask you that question again later. Now the oceans. Until the 1900s, even though we were felling trees, even though we were burning our forests still, the ocean was helping absorb the carbon or sequester the carbon from the atmosphere to keep the atmosphere cool, right? To control the greenhouse effect, to control the level of global warming. But now, due to overfishing, we're overexploiting the fishery. We're overexploiting the ocean. Now, what happens is we're casting large nets that, by the way, are made of plastic. And also, might I remind you that half of all of the plastic waste that is in the oceans is composed of plastic fishing nets. Okay? So we cast these large fishing nets into the ocean and catch whatever comes in. We may have gone to catch salmon or some other species, but whatever we catch 5 times as much in bykill. What is bykill? Bykill are the other species that we didn't really want, but we caught in the vast net that we cast. We bring them up onto our boats and they die. But we don't need them, so we throw them back into the ocean. And those are bykill. And because of this practice, it's likely that by 2050, we may have fishless oceans. Now, let's come to waste. I'm sure whenever you guys are going on holiday or going out of the city, you may have noticed uncharacteristic mountains of hills. What those are nothing but mountains of garbage. Where do you think that the waste that we throw in our dustbins goes to? Have you ever thought about it? When we're talking about the environment, a lot of people are educating people about reducing our consumption, about being mindful of the waste that we're creating, about segregating our waste, separating the wet waste from the dry waste, about trying to compost our wet waste, about trying to recycle our dry waste. Why are we doing that? Because we tend to forget that the waste that we're creating in our own houses is ending up in those landfills. It's ending up in those large, gigantic mountains of garbage. The earth gave us the Himalayas and the Aravalis. What are humans giving the earth? Mountains of garbage. Now, the waste that we produce in our own homes is nothing compared to these large farms and factories. For example, the waste from a farm of 2,500 dairy cows is equivalent to the waste from a city of 4 lakh people. 4 lakh people. Every minute, we're producing about 3 million kilograms of excrement from these animal farms. And now, coming to the finite resources that are given to us on our finite planet, the only home that we know. A third of all the land.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Pareen. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'll just ask, because it's almost 12:45. So I'll ask students to remain more active. If they have any questions, they can put questions on the chat so that we can include in our presentation. And I would like to have 7 minutes of to discuss on water footprint also with the students.
Yep.
So if possible, students, you keep yourself awake, because I understand we on Zoom we
Is
have our
everybody
limited attention, and so that's if you have a lot of questions in the mind, but I'm not seeing any question in the chat. So please put up questions in the chat forum. Yaman, Vaidehi, all of you were discussing with me that madam, we have certain things to ask. So let's do
Yes,
that
ma'am.
also. Bhavesh, you can have asked me in private, will the actions we take today be enough to control the direct impact of climate change? Or is it little too late now? Bhavesh,
I will
never.
get to this.
Better late than never. That is what my always answer is. कि बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा है. Pareen, he has asked me in private, will the actions we take today be enough to control the direct impact of climate change, or it is little too late now?
I will address your question. Thank you so much for your questions. We had a very lively discussion this morning, and I'm expecting you all to make this a conversation. This is not a one-way street. So please share your questions, your comments, anything you want to say in the chat box. You can send it privately, or you can share it with everyone. That's up to you. I'm going to take 10 more minutes to wind up the presentation, and then I will start with your questions. Okay, now land use. A third of all the ice-free land on the planet, all of the planet, a third of the land that we have. Now, this land constitutes plains. This land constitutes the deserts. I was saying deserts. I'm sorry.
Next time now.
This land constitutes deserts. This land constitutes the mountains. A third of all of this land is underused by the animal agriculture industry. And we're still not talking about it. That is why it is so alarming, and that is why I want to focus on this in our presentation today. Okay? A third of all of our ice-free land. That is huge. And imagine if you're able to tackle this, if you're able to deal with this, then how much land we will be able to reforest, how much land we will be able to undertake plantation drives on that we absolutely love so much. Don't we just love throwing around those seed balls and planting those trees? Imagine if we cleared up that land and we were able to do this, then we would tackle two very large problems. Not only will we have reduced the emissions of carbon, which I explained to you, constitute 51 to 87% of all emissions, but also we will have enhanced the absorption or the sequestration capacity of the planet. So by doing this, by stopping the consumption of animal products, which I will explain to you the terminology of, about veganism and a plant-based system, just by doing this one thing, in fact, it's not even doing something, it's actually stopping doing something, we can have such a large impact on the climate. And that is why this is what we're talking about today. How you can solve the climate crisis today. Okay, now the water footprint. Just like land, a third of all of the fresh water. Now let me tell you, of all the water on the face of the planet, only 3% is fresh water. Now,
Pareen, can you stop screen share so I just prepared some images of water footprint which we can share with the students, because that is one aspect which they are just not aware of. They talk about carbon footprint, but difficult for them to understand water footprint. So once you stop the sharing, I've just picked up some images from the Google in between the session.
Please go ahead.
I can share that.
Please
so
go ahead.
I think that will be relevant. Just a minute, bacha. So this is what Pareen ma'am is talking about, and we were discussing on the water footprint. हमने कभी सोचा नहीं है कि भाई जो पानी, we always say कि the intake of water is based on our bathing, नहाने में कितना पानी इस्तेमाल होता है, and generally washing hands and all. But we don't realize that we are using water almost everywhere. and that is water footprint. You know, if you see this, your morning breakfast depends on what kind of food are we consuming, plant-based food or animal-based food. Right from our morning breakfast, right from using, not only about brushing के लिए कितना पानी इस्तेमाल हो रहा है, but हमारा clothing, if you see this image very nicely, depend on what we consume. See, 1 kg butter अगर हम you consume करते हैं, we are consuming 940 liters of water. 1 kg pumpkin, 350 liters of water. 1 liter orange juice, उसको बनाने में 1020 liters of water use होता है. Even to grow plants and even in transportation and everything. अगर एक jeans बनती है हमारी, for example, I'll just be quick to show to you that present. जहाँ jeans बनती है, 1 jeans takes 8,000 liters of water to make 1 jean. So अगर हम वो jean को अपनी पूरी life पहने बिना अगर उसको डिस्कार्ड कर देते हैं, तो वी आर एक्चुअली इंक्रीजिंग अवर वाटर फुटप्रिंट, यू नो, बिकॉज ये प्रोडक्शन में जितना इस्तेमाल होता है ये सब मटेरियल बनाने में. सिमिलरली देखो, आप देखो केन शुगर, टी, sorghum, wheat बनाने में. So water footprint you can study more on detail, but understand that water is not only consuming what we see as water that we are consuming in washing or in cooking, but the products that we are using also consumes water in its preparation. तो क्या होगा कि हमें ये देखना है कि we have to be consumers. कैसे consumers होने? We have to be need based consumer, not want based consumer. हमें जिस चीज की जरूरत है, हमें एक, जैसे हम लोग रोटरी में 4-वे टेस्ट करते हैं, वैसे हर चीज को बाय करने से पहले एक टेस्ट करना कि इसको मुझे इस चीज की जरूरत है कि नहीं है. एंड एम आई बाइंग एन एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली, और इज माय हैबिट एन एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली हैबिट, द काइंड ऑफ फूड आई एम हैविंग. परीन मैम इज ट्राइंग टू मेक अस अंडरस्टैंड दिस आल्सो, कि जो हम खाना खा रहे हैं वो एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली हैबिट है कि नहीं है. बिकॉज जब बात करें तो अब 1 kg ब्रेड लोफ कंज्यूम्स 1600 लीटर ऑफ वाटर. एक पिज्जा, you will be happy to tell mama ki pizza consumes less water than the bread, but this is, we can always have understand this water footprint even on there are calculators on Google. Water footprint calculator जब आप डालोगे तो very clearly आपको मिल जाएगा water footprint क्या होता है. and on water footprint calculator में भी आप जैसे Google में डालते हो, so you will get to know the water footprint calculator, and there you can always insert your daily habits, your lifestyle based habits, which few questions are asked, and then you'll get to realize that how much water you're consuming. This is what she was trying to tell you, that even 1 kg of beef consumes 15,500 liters of water, while 1 kg of cheese, if you consume 5,000 liters of water, one slice of bread 40 liters, cup of coffee 140 liters of water, watching television 30,000 liters of water, 15 minutes shower to 40 liters, one piece of paper A4 size, उसको बनाने में 10 लीटर चाहिए पानी का. And one car जब आप use करते हो तो 3,000 liters of water is consumed. One pair of shoes बनाने में 8,000 liters of water. So this is a one thing which I would all of you to understand, that water is also very important, which is a limited resource. And I'm sure just the kind of water that we are using, uska limitation hone hi wala hai. The next world war will be on water. So let's be consumers of water in such a way wherein we conserve water rather than we just become a wasteful consumer of water.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for laying out this groundwork. It has made my job much easier. Like you said, the food we consume, it's not just the direct water that we're seeing, but it's everything that goes into every step of processing. So now, to get 1 liter of milk, it takes 1,000 liters of water just for that 1 liter packet of milk. Where is this water being used? It's the water that the cows and buffaloes, the cattle, we call cattle, are drinking. It's the water that is used to grow their food. It is the water that is used to wash them, that is used to wash their excrement. It is the water that is used to process the milk, all the equipment, all the production unit. So 1 liter of milk takes 1,000 liters of water to produce. Another interesting thing, if you guys are eating meat burgers, and if you also care about saving water by limiting the amount of time that you take your shower or taking a bath with a bucket, then let's tell you that in order to offset the water footprint of one meat burger, you'll have to sacrifice 2 months of showers. Have one burger today and don't take a bath for 2 months. That is how much water it takes to produce one meat burger. But
very nicely, Riddhi has actually, I can relate your talk, and with her question is, I have a question that the actions taken now will make our life better and safer, or it will make only a difference to our future generation?
Okay, very important question. Let me get to this once we conclude the presentation. I will take about a couple more minutes. Okay, both the questions, these are very important questions. So now I want to know if you guys have understood the larger impact that the animal agriculture industry has, not only on climate change, but also all of the environmental issues that we're facing today. Okay, there is a very famous, very meaningful Cree-Indian proverb that says, when all of the trees are gone, we are going to learn that we cannot eat money. Unfortunately, it is all a game of money and power right now, right? We keep hearing about stop using fossils, move to renewables. What is it? Think about it. There is one big money industry, fossil fuels, and there is one big money industry, the solar and the renewables, and they're up against each other. They're leveling up. They're at the level where they can compete with each other. At the moment, there is no one competing with the animal agriculture industry. The money, the power, and the clout that the animal agriculture industry has, there's no match for it at the moment. There's no money in being against this industry at the moment. And that is why not enough people are teaching you about this, even though there is plethora of scientific evidence to show that this is the single largest industry, the most unsustainable industry on the planet today. Okay, there is an excellent website called plantbaseddata.org that has collated scientific peer-reviewed studies to show what exactly we're doing with respect to our health, with respect to our animals, with respect to the environment, and with respect to our abuse and use of the animals. Okay, because come to think of it, we're intelligent species, right? And we know that this is our one and only home. We have exercised our intelligence in the vast amount of progress that we have achieved. The development, the infrastructure, communications, transport, the fact that we're all sitting in the comfort of our homes in different cities of the country, that we're all coming together to discuss this, shows that we're intelligent and shows that we also have an ounce of wisdom. Now it's time to exercise our wisdom. Show that we are Homo sapiens, the wise ones, the stewards of the planet and the co-inhabitants, like our religious and spiritual teachings are telling us, right? All of our teachings, we talk about unity and peace and living in harmony, but the way we're living today is exactly on the contrary, right? So, two very important things. Moving from this perceived need or this want or this desire-based consumption to need-based consumption. And how do we do that? By moving away from the egocentric view of the planet to an ecocentric view, where humans along with all other species, have a role to play. And what role have we played? In the past 100 years, by raising the average temperature, we have acted as a thermostat species of the planet. We have possibly delayed an ice age. So that is good. We've done a great job. But now it's time to take stock. So I want you to urge your parents, your peers, your family, and encourage your friends to also make them aware and educate them, and know that when we as individuals, when we make our choices as consumers on what to consume, what we spend our money on, what we cast our vote on, then the corporations will take notice, the governments will take notice, the entire world will take notice. Okay?
Thank you so much, Pareen. There are questions, and Yaman is, I would want one of you to pick up the questions from the chat, read the questions and ask it to Pareen ma'am. There are 2-3 questions in the chat. Students, those who have questions, please ask to everyone rather asking me in private. I want you to pick up the question and ask to Pareen ma'am, because you are the host. I'm your guest today. Yes, Yaman.
Yes, Mama. Pareen, ma'am, my question is that will the remedies to climate change be worse than the diseases? Will it drive more people into poverty with higher cost?
Such an important question, or very important question. I was hoping that this would be asked. That is why I deliberately left it out of the presentation. Do you know that COVID-19 is a zoonotic disease? Do you know what zoonotic diseases are? Well, have you heard of SARS, MERS, AIDS, swine flu, bird flu? These are all zoonotic diseases, and so is SARS-CoV-19, also popularly known as COVID-19. How do zoonotic diseases spread? You must be aware that all of us living beings, whether it is humans or animals, we have a microflora within our bodies. We have billions of bacteria and viruses residing within our bodies, right? Dr. Geetika definitely can tell you more about this. But for now, suffice to know that so do animals. Now, these bacteria and viruses that normally reside in animals in the wild reside in tandem because they are their home, okay? They don't cause them any harm. But with our activities, especially of animal agriculture, we increase our contact with these animals. We're encroaching into their habitats, and with repeated contact, we are also exposed to this microflora that is residing in these animals, these bacteria and viruses that are residing on these animals. Now, even though they don't harm these animals, they end up harming us. That is how Lyme's disease was created, by the tick that is in deer. Resides in deer, does nothing to harm the deer, comes to humans, causes Lyme disease. Swine flu, bird flu, AIDS, SARS, MERS, you name it. All of these zoonotic diseases, the reason that they have become such huge pandemic level diseases is because of our increased repetitive long-term interaction with animals. Okay, now same happened with COVID as well. Some say it was bats, some studies say it was pangolins in the open wet meat markets of China. If you roam about the streets of India, you would know that wet markets are very common in India as well. You must have seen dead carcasses of animals in shops. That is wet market, okay? Where you're dealing with meat, dead animals or live animals. In that, the market for this particular kind of commodity is called a wet market, okay? And in the wet markets of China is where COVID is supposed to have been originated. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yaman, there is one more question in the chat, which
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
added because it was asked to be in private by Vaidehi, I think. Can you ask that question
Yes,
also?
ma'am. There is one question also. How do climate change affect oceans?
How does climate change affect oceans? So we've already spoken about the fisheries, right? Yes, you understood? You must have seen those videos of turtles where they're taking the straws out of their necks, and suddenly we all want to start banning straws. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Little do we realize that half of all of the plastic waste in the ocean is comprised of plastic nets, of plastic fishing nets. Okay? What they do is when they're done using the nets, they just discard them in the ocean, like everything else that we discard. So now, the concern to save the ocean, to save the fish, what we need to do is stop eating the fish. Okay? All right.
I think any other questions, students?
There were some very nice questions that asked for later.
I think this was question you have already answered. I have a question that will the actions taken now will make our life better or safer, or it will only make a difference in future generation?
Very important. If only the previous generation had asked this question when we were undertaking all the developments that we have, right? We say that we love our children. We care for our children. We do everything we do for the sake of our children, right? But we forget that what we continue to do without thinking about our children is what is going to harm them most, is what is going to present a threat to their existence the most. Okay? So at the moment, the most environmentally heavy or environmentally challenging decision is the decision to have a child. The second most environmentally potent decision is the decision to go plant-based. And this I'm saying from science, not arbitrarily. Okay? So aside from your childbearing choices, the biggest choice that you as an individual can make to stop climate change is a move towards a plant-based system. Okay? And it's not just me, it's also the FSSAI that is saying this. It was also the WHO that said this in a tweet a few weeks ago, that they were forced to delete. Adopt a sustainable diet featuring plant-based foods to fight climate change. Now, we not only fight climate change, but we also create a peaceful and kind world for the co-inhabitants, for our co-inhabitants on this planet, the animals, who did nothing to deserve what we do to them. It is beyond the scope of this lecture to talk about what we put animals through. But if you're interested in knowing, you can watch Dairy, oh my God, what is it called? Deadly Dairy. You can watch Deadly Dairy, Cattle of India on YouTube. You can also watch Earthlings documentary, and you can watch Dominion documentary. If you really want to know how that juicy leg or that biryani ended up on your plate. And I used to be one, all for biryani and all for that tandoori chicken. It has been 4 years now, and it has been the best and the most important decision I have taken in my life, because I was able to take that decision by looking beyond myself. It was a decision that I took for the sake of the planet, for the sake of sustainability. Okay?
Very nice, Pareen. Pareen, very nicely you actually did share about it, because most of us, I always discuss this with many, that most of us are pet lovers and still we enjoy a nice non-veg food. So just loving pet and understanding our habits are also one, and they go hand in hand. So any other questions, students? Because see, climate change is such a huge topic, and I would like to share certain links with you where you can, if you are interested, to go, because there are very beautiful online courses हैं बेटा. आप चाहो तो उसको 10 दिन में खत्म कर सकते हो, आप चाहो तो 15 दिन में, आप चाहो तो 6 महीने में भी कर सकते हो. तो आप जब भी आफ्टर 10th स्टैंडर्ड आपकी बोर्ड्स एग्जाम्स खत्म हो जाए, उसके बाद आपके पास टाइम अगर मिलता है, तो यू यूज योर टाइम कंस्ट्रक्टिवली टू such courses online. So if you want, you can connect with me. I can guide you कि कौन कौन से courses आप online कर सकते हो, so that it helps you to understand where the world is leading towards, you know, whether it's a sustainable development goals है, या how do you create a much better compassionate future world, how you can contribute in that world, and what kind of qualities you need to have before I mean in you as person, what attitude आपको develop करना पड़ेगा, so that you become a change maker in real sense.
Yes, exactly. So in the previous session, we shared about the resources. You can access Coursera. The United Nations has an excellent course, especially for teachers.
I think किसी का पीछे कुछ चल रहा है साथ में. Can I ask someone? हाँ, Pareen, you can unmute yourself.
There is the SDG Academy. There is the United Nations course. You can also look at Coursera. They have short-term courses that you can finish within a week or a few months, and you have reputable teachers teaching you. You can pick the minutest of topics and go into depth, or you can take broad range topics if you'd like to learn the basis of climate change. Another really important resource that I want to share with you is the Climate Healers website. It's climatehealers.org. There you will find multiple documentaries that have been produced by climate healers, and you will find research studies that are talking about our impact on the environment. You study those, you watch those, and you are eligible to receive a certification to be a certified climate healer. And once you become a certified climate healer, you can start a local chapter. It can be in your school, it can be with your Interact club, it can be in your city, in your state, in your region, however broad you want to go. You can have, you can start a climate healers chapter. You can always email me if you have any questions. I'm going to share my email, my mobile, as well as my social media links with you guys, so you can stay in touch with me. I really hope that you are inspired today to create change and to be leaders, because, well, that's what we need. I'm requesting you guys.
I always tell one thing: reduce your carbon footprint, reduce your water footprint, increase your handprint. That's very important. Understand this. हमेशा अपना handprint बढ़ाने की कोशिश करो, and carbon and water footprint reduce करने की कोशिश करो, and always try to see on Google. Google को ज़्यादा search करते तो भी carbon footprint बढ़ता है. आपको पता नहीं ये भी? You know, it says कि भी mobile use करना, actually it ends up using so much of carbon. It's a high carbon footprint activity. Even being on screen. So also that also even reducing the screening time, it's not reducing, it is using it effectively. हम जो भी काम करें उसका productivity आए, waste ना हो जाए वो काम. Productivity जैसे ही आएगा वो काम आपके लिए, वो activity आपके लिए हमेशा अच्छी होगी. So refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, refurbish. ये रीज आपको ध्यान में रखने हैं. We can have a session also again on this. Again, I'll repeat. The first is refuse, second is reduce, then reuse, recycle, refurbish, and repurpose. So these are very important re's which we need to understand. Anything else, Forum, Yaman? It is up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question related to data science.
Okay, Forum.
There is a lot of discussion about data science these days. So, this data science, could it help in reshaping the climate change disaster? the disaster response? How can it help?
Pareen, would you like to take the question?
Sure. So data science, the purpose of data science until now has been to show us where we are at, what our position is. So like for instance, Dr. Sailesh Rao has written a position paper where he has calculated through using years and years of data to show what the impact of a shift towards a plant-based system would be. Now he has shown that we can achieve pre-industrialization emission levels just by making this shift. Okay, so the data has a big role to play in this, and it already has. See, research, most of the research is based in data, right?
Future is going to be data, and that is where I'm sure our forum is thinking based on the career option also, because many students do come to me asking for as a career option in data science. Future, and everyone says future is data, because they so, and see, and we are moving towards the world where we are relying on data. कि भाई इसका data दो, and उसको scientifically उसको analyze करो using statistical methods and all, and once we do it, we get a conclusive result, we are able to accept that eventually everything. So that is, yes, as a future career option also forum, you can go in detail. There are various wonderful short-term courses available online also on data science. First, try to do those courses. Once you do it, you'll realize whether you are cut for that for data science as a career option or not. है ना, 15 दिन का कोर्स है, 1 month का कोर्स है. First try to do the small online courses. You'll realize कि yes, this is what I want to do in my future as a career option. And or you might say nahi, this is not something which I like the entire, you can call it as the excitement related with data science, but when it comes to actual data science, I don't understand it. So do such small courses and it will help you to decide what you want to do in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, Vaidehi, you had something? I saw you in between.
No, ma'am.
All right. Any other thing? All right. So can we wind up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, now I would
Yes,
like to
ma'am.
invite Vaidehi for purpose the vote of thanks.
Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all. I, Vaidehi Desai, the designated Secretary of Interact Club Asmita, I feel extremely joyous to propose the vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who helped in making this session a very successful one. First of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Honorable Speaker, Ms. Pareen Sachdeva. I heartily thank Dr. Geetika Saluja, the District Vice Chair, Mrs. Hema Shah, District Interact Chair, and most importantly, our worthy audience who joined us through Zoom and YouTube. Thank you so much for being such a great audience. Pareen ma'am, thank you so much for giving such a helpful information. Thank you.